Here I finally am. I'm so sorry for the delay. It is really busy down here, and it's just a lot happening. And we had an important dinner, so I had to postpone, but I have my glass of wine. So I hope you guys all are ready to talk about the warm up. So I am really passionate about this, and there's like a couple videos in the academy. So for those of you who are in the academy, it is going to be a repeat because I have said this for the last like 20 years about the warm up. But before we get into that, I do want to just thank everyone, all of our new members. We got like 122 new members in the academy, and I just want to say welcome to everyone. And we're up to 600 people now, and that's just like amazing news. I mean, last year at this time, the Team Tate Academy was not even a thought in my mind. It was just not even, it was not, it was nothing. We were talking about this Corona thing, and we were all like, oh my God, the horse shows aren't happening. And oh my God, should we go home early? Like, what does this mean? House arrest? Can we go feed the horses? Like, what does this even look like? So we actually did last year go home early because we did kind of freak out a little bit. And I do want to thank Kevin Hennessy from Nobody's Business Horse Transportation, who completely came to my rescue and took my 2 semis of horses home. And we just felt like we'd be a lot safer on the compound in South Carolina. And yeah, so like the Team Tate Academy was like not even a thought in my mind. And I just want to thank everyone who helped share and spread the joy and yeah, recruit new members. So we're so happy to have new people and fresh blood. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's just it's so exciting. Like this has totally become like my calling, and I'm so happy to share it with everybody. So, yeah, we're gonna probably have a summer launch. We'll probably have one more launch around Christmas. But we're just happy you're here. And sorry I'm late tonight. Again, like Florida's busy and all the Germans are leaving, so there is a lot of connections happening that we need to meet with everybody. So anyway, tonight topic is the warm up. And again, I'm really passionate about this because there are just so many times that a whole ride can kind of be a little bit wrecked and ruined if the time is not totally taken in the warm up. And like we can go on and on about so many things. And I just loved it. I just checked Team Tate TV and I love all the comments. I will read them all. We will talk about them all. And like warming up at horse shows is going to be a totally separate talk because this is just like a regular warm up. Like what do you look for every single day? And I know I know I have already two warm up videos in the academy. One is with Fiji, which I'll get into, and one is with Gideon because I mean, you know, Gideon's perfect. So of course he's my perfect warm up horse. But it is so important and it's so easy to just kind of not do. And that comes back to like bite you in the bum. You know, and like halfway through your ride, you're like, why is this not going great? And so many times it was like, well, I didn't focus enough or take enough time or slow down or connect to my horse because the warm up is something that is huge. So and then Richard just said, no one wants or should want to win the warm up. Also true, but it is also really important to have a winning warm up. You know, not that you're amazing before the test even starts. But again, we're going to talk about competitions and warming up and creating a positive experience for your horse. That can be a totally different chat. And again, I loved all the comments. We will talk about all the things. But tonight, I really want to just tackle just your regular warm up. You know, it's becoming springtime and everyone's going to be able to like walk outside and do things because at the end of the day, one of the biggest priorities for my program and my horses is a 20-minute walk. Everyone needs to walk, walk, walk. And I think I say it exactly like that in the Academy videos because I mean, it is so important. This time to walk with your horse is really important on a lot of levels. Number one, it's really great to lubricate the joints. It's really great to oxygenate the muscles. For me, it's really important. I ride a lot of horses every day. And so it's really important for me to connect on an individual level with that horse. I mean, this is exactly the same reason why at horse shows I braid my own horses. Like that for me is really important to connect with that horse. I'm really sensitive to energy. So for me to spend that time walking with that horse and just feeling, you know, where its mind is at, where his body's at. Is it a Tuesday, which is our day after the day off? Does he feel stiff? Does he feel fresh? Is he excited about the work? Is he like not that excited about the work? So for me, it's a great gauge on where are we at today. For me, in the morning, when I'm sort of like on my first and second horse, that's also a check-in for my own body. Like, how am I today? Like, oh, did I sleep weird? Is my hip tight? Is my back okay? Oh, I feel like a kink in my neck. I think it's important to really be aware of your own body too, because at the end of the day, that is our vehicle to communicate with the horse. And if we're accidentally too tight or stiff or even unaware of what we're doing, we are transferring that to the horse. And I think that's really important to also pay attention to that too. So again, you know, walking for 15-20 minutes is really important. Sometimes I do some of that in hand. Sometimes my girls do that. If I'm running behind, I want my horses moving and walking and stretching out, you know, accepting the saddle, tightening the girth, so that everything is done really slowly and gradually. I think that's really important as well. But that time for the horse and the rider to just drop into each other, like we need to connect and be as one, and where are each of us at? I think that's really important. So that for me is part of that walking time. Then the question comes up, what kind of walking, right? Like some horses, and I have like all kinds in my barn. And I think over this weekend, we'll do a little tour and introduce you to all the horses in our barn because they're all totally different. We have Grand Prix horses. We have international Grand Prix horses. We have rescue horses. I got a wonderful 20-year-old Morgan who's like stolen my heart. We got everything in between. Young horses, normal horses, older horses, schoolmasters, young. We got all the kinds. And each one of them have a little bit different warm up. So Darby, for instance, or Gideon, like they're Grand Prix, they're trained, they know their job. They love to walk around the path. They like to, you know, venture around the property, look around, see all the interesting things in Loxahatchee. And, you know, I have an Apollo. He also loves to do that. He likes to take a tour for sure. And, you know, there are other horses that are slightly frightened by, you know, overwhelmed by what's happening at the neighbor's house sometimes. And so, like, Summer was one of those horses. I know Summer retired before I started the academy, so not all of you know my heart horse, Summersby. who is the most beautiful, amazing, wonderful red lady who I trained to Grand Prix, and then she had an injury and now is retired. She hated hacking out. She loved the arena. She loved to work. She loves to just do the things. She loves structure. Like free and open was like not her thing. And so I think it's also important to know what each horse likes and what benefits each horse. Again, some like to walk around on the buckle, look around, see the world. Apollo is actually hilarious because if I let him just walk around on the buckle, he is brave and like maybe he'll stop and like look at stuff, but he will then like if I don't pressure him to go, he will just go and look at it, walk past it, it won't be a thing. If I take up my reins and I'm like, you need to go past this, then he's like totally freaked out. So it's interesting like what pressure sort of does, and if I let him just look at it and go around, he's totally fine. Summer needed to never look at anything. She needed to just not see things and go to work, and then she would be really well behaved. So they're all different, but my point of this is you have to know like who your horse is and what benefits their body the most. Some horses just need to walk free and loose and easy and find their swing and get to relax and see their environment, and that's helpful for them. Then you have to decide, does any type of lateral work help my horse? I find it can be extremely beneficial. And I know Stefan got on my horses. He did a lot of like shaping the horse and moving the horse around and checking the controls. And I love that before we get into a lot of trot, you know. I think if you, again, come to the ride really present and ask your horse, how are you today? Where are you today? Can you bend a little bit more to the right? And if that's difficult, I think it's important to be able to figure out what kind of exercise, even at the walk, could I do to help that horse come through that space a bit better. And so I do think it's always a fascinating conversation of like which horses benefit from lateral work at the walk, what horses I absolutely never, ever, ever touch the walk because it's kind of a tricky spot, and other horses who want to walk on the buckle and then go right away into rising trot from there. So I think it's about knowing your horse's personality and truly understanding the weaknesses and strengths in their bodies and making your plan from there. Again, it's interesting. Like we always kind of laugh about this in the barn that like if you were to come at 10:30 and see me ride this horse, you would say, oh, JJ always stretches them way down and does this. And then if you came at like 4:30, you'd be like, it was really weird. She was riding this horse and she didn't stretch him down like at all. Like, I don't think she stretches her horses in the beginning. And it's interesting because at the end of the day, for me, I know my horses so well and I truly honor who they are and I understand their body and their temperament and I cultivate that the best I can. So, like in the academy, Fiji, there's a video called Honoring Your Horse. And for Fiji, stretching him down was not a good idea. He would have been lame and he never would have made it to the high success that he had because he just would have been like on the forehand and like kind of sloppy footed. And Gideon is like a textbook example of how to truly stretch that horse and let him pull his neck out of his back and really bow up the bascule and connect the hind legs to the bit in a long frame. So that's really important. Oh, we have a special guest. Hey, Patricia Kasho, how are you? That's exciting. Um, she's one of our German friends, so I hope to see you on Monday. But going back to the warm up, I think it's really important to know your horse and what works best for them. Again, we can go into lunging. I have a young horse. He needs to get lunged every day, or I might eat some dirt. So that's always great for him. And and we'll go over lunging in a whole nother topic for sure. But I want to talk a little bit about when I get past the walking phase. Again, walk, 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 tons of walk. Some horses I have need some groundwork. Denali every day. My new horse, Ivar, he also needs some groundwork just to work on the connection from the hock to the bit and bowing up the back and understanding a little bit about how to truly connect properly. Any horse I have with a little bit of a weird tongue thing or like a nervous mouth, I will also do some groundwork with them too, just to help them learn to accept the bit and connect a little bit better. And I see Kaki's on here too. Oh, and my mom. Hi. um, yeah, so one of the most important things I look for in my warm up, and I talk about this in Gideon's warm up in the academy, is the 3 F's: free, forward, and flowing. What's really important for me is that first, my horses feel very free. And that doesn't mean like I chuck the reins at their neck and then just like run around totally loose. But I want my horses to feel really free, unconstrained by my weight, unconstrained by my presence in the saddle, my hands on their mouth. I want the horse to not only be free in their body, but free in their mind. And I want them to accept me as a partner to them and not feel like constrained by me being up there. Of course, I want to shape how they're using themselves for sure, but this freedom of movement and the freedom of the horse moving in a regular, like relaxed way. I a lot of times call it like I want their natural gaits to come out um, in the warm up. And of course, like a Grand Prix horse starts completely normal and ends up really special. And a 4 or 5 year old starts normal also, and then just gets a little bit better improved normal. But the Grand Prix horse at the end of the warm up is passaging and piaffing and all those things. But it really starts from this free forward flowing. And so again, this freedom of movement, freedom in the horse's back and the hips, in the horse's mouth, that the horse really feels like I come with him with his spirit and not me like over controlling it. So we go to the forward part because it's also really important that horses love motion. Horses are made to move. They only sleep like 3 hours a day. Like they are to be moving all the time. And so you want the horse to want to celebrate that, and you want to be a custodian of that. So not only does a horse need to be free, but they also need to be forward and allowed to express themselves forward. So a lot of times we talk about not only does the horse need to be taking you forward, he also needs to be forward as a state of mind. And so if the horse is not thinking forward, then that's when I will drive it forward and really get it taking me somewhere. That the horse really responds to my leg, um, opens up the back, feels like they fill up my contact in a positive way, and sort of like express themselves outward in their body. So then after that, we get to the flow part. And this is, like not one of the F's is more important than the other, because the flow for me is what makes my like when I do a test at a horse show, that's what makes it very connected and fluid and smooth, is this flow part. And I really go back to the whole idea of balance. For me, balance and connection are like the most important things. And so it's so important that the horse can flow from one bend to another, from one gait to another, and the balance isn't disturbed. And so when we talk about the free forward flowing, that for me is the most important part of my warm up. That I know when I have those things, my horse is ready to really then have a little break, probably have a sugar or a sugar-free cookie, depending on who they are, and then really get into the deeper work. But those three F's for me are extremely high priority for me. And with a young horse, because I've got a bunch of those this year, and I'm really glad that Poinciana has one arena with a very high fence because it makes me feel like it's a very big space, but I need a little bit higher fence sometimes. And like for those horses, really creating an organized free forward and flow, like that sort of becomes their ride. Like they just become a better free forward flowing horse by the end of the ride. It's not like I'm actually working on some really technical, difficult maneuver. It's like, I just want you to know, horse, at 4 and 5 years old, that this is how I need you to begin every riding session for the rest of your life. Like it's so fun down here in Wellington because we're very connected to our German friends. And, it's just like we always talk about, like, it's just normal, straightforward riding. Like we talk about that all the time. Like there's no real, like, weird stuff going on or like, fancy stuff. It's like just basic normal riding. Like it's just good riding. And for me, that really stems into that ability in my warm up to create this free forward flowing horse. I think it's also really interesting for the rider in their warm up to be fully present and like really here, which is hard because like nowadays in this culture, it's easy to check your your iPhone on your watch and like what's everybody doing and what's happening, and oh, I'm late for my lesson, or like we're always like running behind time. And it's important to just like just settle down and feel yourself and feel your horse. Like horses are so sensitive to where you're at. And like in my interview with Patrick King, which I think the second half of that is coming out on Friday in my podcast, we talk about the horse's energy field. Like horses know storms are coming hours before any of us know. And like they're just so sensitive to that kind of energy. So like wherever you are, it's going to be really important that you just settle into yourself, feel your body, feel how it connects to the horse, and feel him and feel his body and feel, what rein is a little bit easier to bend him, or is he easier to circle to the one way versus the other way? And then make a little plan that helps make what's tight or stiff or resistant, make a little plan with some exercises then to help that horse through that. Because I don't know about you, but when I up in the morning, like I am just, I mean, I've got my own stiffnesses and my old history of injuries and tightnesses. And, if I'm at a horse show, so for me, I'm like the best on my third horse. So, like, I know a lot of you only ride one horse a day. So, how do we deal with that? Like I finally feel like whew, I am in my body and I am just like loosened up by like my third horse of the day. And then there's like eight more that have to come after that. So God bless Gideon because he's the first one every morning. But it's important to like work on your own weaknesses too. Like I have a yoga mat. I stretch in the morning before I go to the barn. The girls know at the barn I'm always like busy stretching and doing some weird things with my body. But I know my body and I know where my tightnesses are and I know what needs to be loose in order to give my best performance to that horse as well. Yes, Angela, everyone should buy more horses. Gideon is the first for me because he's the best. No, I'm just kidding. I actually have this funny thing in my stable that like every horse I ride, I tell them that they're the best horse in the world. So I hope they don't all talk to each other about that because they'd be like, that girl lies. She told me I was the best one. But no, I mean, I want that horse to feel when I am on it. They are the most important thing to me, and I love them, and I want to know all about them, and I want to help them become better. But Gideon is, first off, the most amazing tempered horse ever. So it doesn't matter if it's cold, doesn't matter if it's windy, it doesn't matter if he's the only horse on the property out there. Like Giddy comes to work every day. And I love the way my saddle and my seat, I fit on him really great, even though he's, you know, the super pony. I feel myself really well on him. So he's quite easy on my body, and I have an old rupture in my L5, so I need to be a little bit careful if I'm not warmed up to take too much pressure or movement in that area. So I stretch all the time, and then Gideon is always my first horse because he's perfect. But that's so helpful for me to like warm up on that easier horse. If I have to start on a horse that's not so easy to sit, or um, I only have that one horse, like I would 100% make a routine for my body with some yoga that I would probably do 15 to 20 minutes before I start grooming that horse. Because just as the horse needs to stretch and be elastic and be present for the work phase, so do we as riders. And so I would challenge everyone to figure out like where am I tight? And like, does my tightness affect my horses? And how does that happen? You know, I think it's so important that we, you know, we always have this thing of like, well, it's always the rider's fault, right? The horse is, um, you know, an amazing animal and we're blessed to even be up there. And so, how can I in myself do it better? And so, I think that's about really, I mean, I also think everybody should work out and truly know your body, what's strong, what's weak, what side is stronger, what side is weaker, and to know also that when you have a weaker side, that doesn't mean that that's painful for you. It just means it's difficult and needs a little bit more work. You know, a lot of times it's easy to have the vet come and fix something, and maybe he needs an injection or whatever. But it's like, well, yeah, but like when I stand on my right leg and do some exercises, it feels very different than when I stand on my left leg. And that doesn't mean my ankle needs to get injected. That just means I need to work that structure a little bit more. So I would also challenge everybody to, you know, think about that as well and what kind of exercises you can do to help that horse. I would say a couple of the I would say a couple of my most favorite warm-up exercises would be turn on the forehand because if I am going around a circle and I feel that the horse is a little bit braced up against my inside leg and a little bit like pulling on the contact a little bit, and I'm like, ick, I don't like this feeling in my hand, I will just automatically walk, yield the horse off my inside leg, fire up the horse's inside hind leg, and fire up my own leg a little bit more. Make sure my body is in a balanced place so I can gently send that horse to my outside rein so that I can continue back on a circle and have that horse connected inside leg, outside rein. I also want to talk about the plie tonight because I saw a couple of people who needed a little bit of a clarification on that. And for me, it's interesting because I love the canter plie. And I would say I use it from everybody from Freddie, who's my baby Freddie. He's coming 5, but he kind of rides like he's 4. He needs the high fence. But he's been great. It's been a really big season for him growing up and seeing everything. And, there's a lot of excitement at the barn, and he's been great. But for him, he's just learning to balance in that canter and connect from my inside leg to my outside rein. And he's a little bit afraid um, of the flowers and stuff that are by the arena. So like that's great for me to be able to press him from my inside leg over to the outside rein in that leg yield in the canter, quarter line to the track, which is called a plie. It really feels like you're sort of just like drifting out. You want to allow the horse to lead slightly with their outside shoulder, because if you send the hind legs too much sideways, the horse is going to trot. I talk about this also in the academy, that if you have a horse that has canteritis and won't stop cantering, we send it in a pretty sharp leg yield to break up the canter. So you want to make sure in the plie, you sort of allow the horse to drift nicely over through the outside shoulder towards the track. So it almost feels like a drift, but it's really good for horses that tend to be tight in the low back and the hips, because the oscillation of the horse's low back and hips and canter is easier for the horse. And then with the gentle yielding, it sort of like shakes the horse loose in the low back, which I really like. So I would say I also use that for Gideon, who's Grand Prix. I use that for Montana. Apollo has to do a lot of moving around because he needs to work on his suppleness. So what's interesting about this plie, and for me, I just want to always create that I have the horse's attention from my inside leg. I want to be able to yield the horse softly through my inside aids and gently receive him into my outside aids. And I would say I have a driving inside calf, sending the inside hind leg under my inside seat bone. I want a soft flexion through the inside jowl. And I want the horse to fill up my outside knee and my outside elbow and ring finger. And so that's what I feel when I do that plie. That's what I'm sort of seeking. And then if the horse is like, taking advantage and just like whoop, like running back to the track, then I will do a couple steps and support him with my outside leg and make sure at the end of the day, what all lateral work is about is making the horse go more straight. And so this ability to stack the horse up between all of the aids is really important. So we don't want them to flee the leg, and we don't want them to like run away from the leg. We want the horse to be really stacked up and rideable on both sides of their body. But for me, the first channel I go to is to be able to yield the horse through the inside aids over to the outside aids. So that's another piece of, after the 3 F's, free, forward, flowing, is established, then I go to that whole idea of stacking the horse up, yielding from my inside aids, and being able to bend them as well as straighten them into my outside aids. So I hope that's clear. Is the video feed breaking up for anyone? Oh, sorry. I don't know if the internet's okay right here, but anyway, I just want to have a little toast. Cheers to a thoughtful, concentrated, like it has to be full of integrity, these warm-ups. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be dealing with a lot of other things in the middle of your ride and the end of the ride if the warm-up wasn't great. Like for me, the warm-up is the foundation. And we really want to make sure that that is built right so that the rest of the things can come to you a little bit easier. So I hope you guys found this helpful. Sorry I was late, and I hope you guys make it a great night, and I will see you soon. All right. Thank you. Bye.